The wealthy businesswoman laughed in Judge Caprio's face when he tried to explain her speeding fine. $850 later, she wasn't laughing anymore. Patricia Whitmore, 48 years old, CEO of 3 companies, walked into Providence Municipal Court like she owned it. Designer clothes, head to toe. Luxury handbag worth more than most people's monthly rent. Phone in her hand, scrolling through emails, barely acknowledging the courtroom around her. If you believe nobody is above the law, no matter how rich they think they are, subscribe now. This channel fights for justice that treats everyone equally. Wednesday morning, 10:07 a.m. Judge Frank Caprio reviewed the case file. Speeding violation, 25 miles over the limit, residential zone, 4th offense in 2 years. The bailiff leaned close, whispered a warning. Your Honor, this defendant has been difficult with court staff. The citation told the story. Patricia Whitmore refused to sign initially, argued with the officer, claimed she was too important to be stopped, too busy for traffic laws. The officer's notes included one direct quote. Do you know who I am? I employ 200 people. I contribute more to this city than you'll make in your lifetime. You could feel the tension building before she even approached the bench. Miss Whitmore, Judge Caprio began professionally. You're here regarding a speeding violation. Please step forward. Patricia moved slowly, never looked up from her phone, fingers typing, messages sending. The courtroom was an inconvenience interrupting her important day. Miss Whitmore, I need your full attention. Please put away your phone. She looked up, annoyance written across her face. I'm handling important business matters. Can we make this quick? I have actual important things to do today. The courtroom tensed immediately, her dismissive tone toward the judge, her obvious contempt for the process, her assumption that her time mattered more than anyone else's. But what nobody in that courtroom knew yet was just how badly Patricia's arrogance would cost her, how her attitude would transform a simple speeding ticket into something much more expensive and humiliating. Miss Whitmore, this court is important, and you will give it your full attention. You were cited for driving 55 in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. How do you plead? This whole thing is ridiculous. Patricia's voice dripped with disdain. That speed limit is absurd for that road. I drive it every day. Never had a problem. It's just a revenue scheme. Judge Caprio's expression remained calm but firm. That's not what I asked. How do you plead to the charge? Fine, whatever. I was speeding. Can I just pay this and leave? I don't have time for this. Imagine sitting in that courtroom, watching someone treat a judge like an annoying store clerk, watching someone act like laws are optional if you're wealthy enough. You would have felt the anger building, the injustice of it. The judge reviewed the citation details. Patricia continued checking her phone, sighing, rolling her eyes, making it abundantly clear she considered this proceeding beneath her. Miss Whitmore, 25 miles over the limit in a residential zone is serious. There are children, families, people walking their dogs, elderly residents. Patricia interrupted. I know that neighborhood. Those people should teach their kids not to play near the street. I shouldn't have to drive 30 miles per hour because parents can't supervise their children properly. The courtroom reacted. Gasps, whispers, heads shaking. Her callous attitude toward child safety shocked everyone present. Miss Whitmore, the speed limit exists to protect everyone in that community, not just children. Your attitude toward this citation concerns me. My attitude? Patricia's voice rose. My attitude is that of a successful businesswoman being lectured by a small-town judge about how to drive on a road I use daily. This is a waste of my time and taxpayer money. Listen carefully to what happened next, because Judge Caprio's patience was about to reach its limit. The judge stood up. His voice remained controlled but gained an edge. "Miss Whitmore, I'm going to remind you that you are in a courtroom. You will show respect for this process." "Respect for what? For you rubber-stamping fines to generate revenue? I know how this works. I'll pay your fine and be done with this." "Miss Whitmore, your fine for this violation is $350 plus court costs." Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. A contemptuous sound that echoed through the silent courtroom. "That's it? I spend more than that on lunch. Just charge it to my credit card and I'll be on my way." Judge Caprio's expression hardened. "This isn't a restaurant, Miss Whitmore. This is a court of justice, and you're treating it like an annoying errand instead of a serious matter. Because it is annoying, you're treating me like a criminal for driving a little fast on an empty road." The judge pulled up her driving record on his computer. "Miss Whitmore, I'm looking at your history. You have 3 previous speeding tickets in the past 2 years. So what? I paid them all. That's how this works, right? You write tickets, I pay them. Everyone's happy." "No, Miss Whitmore. That's not how this works. Each violation represents dangerous driving that could harm others." Patricia visibly rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. I'm an excellent driver. I've been driving for 30 years without an accident." "Your lack of accidents is fortunate, but doesn't excuse repeated speeding violations." Nobody was prepared for what Patricia said next. "Look, Judge," she emphasized his title with obvious condescension, "I'm a busy person. I run 3 companies. I employ over 200 people. I contribute more to this city's tax base than most people in this room will earn in their entire lives." The audience gasped at her blatant arrogance and disrespect. The assumption that money made her above the law. The contempt for everyone around her. Judge Caprio's voice became stern. "Miss Whitmore, your financial situation is irrelevant to your obligation to follow traffic laws." "Really?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like this whole system exists to extort people like me who actually contribute to society." "Miss Whitmore, I'm going to ask you one more time to show respect for this court." "And if I don't, what? You'll fine me more money I don't care about? You can't intimidate me. I'm not some scared kid or poor person who has to bow to you." The courtroom fell completely silent, shocked by her open contempt for judicial authority, stunned by her assumption that wealth exempted her from respect or responsibility. You would have felt the tension, the anger, the desperate hope that someone would finally hold her accountable. "Miss Whitmore, your attitude in this courtroom is as concerning as your speeding. Both show contempt for rules and others' safety." Patricia picked up her phone again. "We're done here. I actually have important meetings today." "Put down that phone, Miss Whitmore. We are not done." "Actually, I think we are." Patricia turned toward the door. "Send me the bill. I'll have my assistant pay it." Your subscription literally determines if stories like this reach people who need to see justice served. Hit subscribe and notification bell right now. We're building an army against entitled behavior. Miss Whitmore, if you take one more step toward that door without my permission, you will be held in contempt of court. Patricia stopped, turned with a mocking smile. Contempt? For what? For not being impressed by your little kingdom here? For repeatedly disrespecting this court? For attempting to leave during a hearing? And for demonstrating the exact attitude that makes you a danger on our roads? A danger? I'm a danger because I won't grovel before a judge in a small municipal court? Judge Caprio's voice became powerful, filling the courtroom. You are a danger because you believe rules don't apply to you. You're a danger because you think wealth exempts you from common courtesy and legal obligations. And you're a danger because you have zero consideration for others' safety. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. Patricia took another step toward the door. Bailiff, please ensure Miss Whitmore remains in this courtroom. The bailiff stepped forward. Patricia's confidence faltered for the first time. You can't keep me here. Miss Whitmore, yes, I can. You're in my courtroom. You'll stay until this hearing concludes. Now sit down. Patricia remained standing, her arrogance fighting with the sudden realization that she might not have as much control as she thought. Miss Whitmore, sit down now or I'll add a contempt charge to your speeding violation. Imagine watching someone's entire worldview crumbling. Watching privilege and arrogance collide with actual authority. Watching money prove worthless against real power. Patricia slowly returned to her seat, no longer looking at her phone. Finally paying attention. Finally understanding that the rules actually applied to her. Now let's discuss your situation clearly. You were cited for speeding in a residential zone. This is your 4th speeding ticket in 2 years. You've shown no remorse, no understanding of why this matters, and you've repeatedly disrespected this court. I don't have to sit here and be lectured. Yes, Miss Whitmore, you do. That's exactly what's happening right now. The courtroom watched Judge Caprio dismantle Patricia's sense of privilege piece by piece. Her assumption of superiority. Her belief that money made her special. Her contempt for rules that applied to everyone else. The judge leaned back, his expression showing determination rather than anger. Miss Whitmore, your original fine was $350. However, given your behavior in this courtroom, I'm increasing it to the maximum. $500 plus court costs. Patricia's face showed genuine surprise. You can't do that. I can and I am. Additionally, I'm requiring you to attend traffic safety school within 30 days. Traffic safety school? I've been driving for decades. Clearly unsuccessfully, given your 4 speeding tickets. You will complete the course and provide proof to this court. This is outrageous. I'll appeal this. That's your right, Miss Whitmore. I encourage you to explain to an appeals judge how you treated this courtroom and see if they're sympathetic. Patricia's arrogance began cracking as the reality of consequences set in. As she realized that her money couldn't fix this, that her status meant nothing here, that she'd made everything worse with her attitude. Furthermore, I'm adding a contempt of court charge for your behavior today. That's an additional $200 fine. For what? For not kissing your ring? For repeatedly disrespecting this court. For attempting to leave during a hearing. And for showing complete contempt for legal proceedings. Your total is now $700 plus court costs, bringing it to $850 plus mandatory traffic school. Patricia's face flushed red, the math finally penetrating. Her attitude had cost her significantly more than if she'd simply been respectful. More than if she'd treated the judge like a human being instead of an annoying obstacle. You're punishing me for being successful. I'm holding you accountable for breaking the law and showing contempt for the judicial system. Your wealth is irrelevant to your obligations as a citizen. I want to speak to your supervisor. I don't have a supervisor, Miss Whitmore. I'm the presiding judge of this municipal court. But again, you're welcome to appeal. Patricia remained silent, perhaps for the first time realizing that her money and status meant absolutely nothing in this room. That the judge saw right through her facade. That consequences were real. Miss Whitmore, I want you to understand something. This court sees people from all backgrounds. Some can barely pay their fines. Others, like you, consider them pocket change. But the law applies equally to everyone. Patricia stayed silent, her previous arrogance completely deflated. The reality sinking in that she'd turned a simple ticket into a public humiliation and financial penalty. When you speed through residential zones, you're not just breaking a rule. You're risking lives. Children live there. Elderly people walk there. Families exist there. Your convenience is not more important than their safety. You could hear the silence, the weight of those words. The truth that everyone in that courtroom already knew, but Patricia had refused to acknowledge. Your attitude today showed me exactly why you keep getting tickets. You don't believe rules apply to you. You think your business success exempts you from basic courtesy and legal obligations. For the first time, Patricia looked genuinely uncomfortable rather than dismissive. The judge's words were penetrating the armor of arrogance she'd worn into the courtroom. Let me tell you what I tell everyone who appears before me. This court cares about your character more than your bank account. Today you've shown very poor character. Patricia finally spoke, quietly. Can I just pay the fine and leave? Yes. But first you'll apologize to this court for your disrespectful behavior. What? You heard me. You will apologize for your disrespect, or I'll add another contempt charge. Patricia remained silent. Pride fighting pragmatism, money fighting morality, entitlement fighting consequences. Miss Whitmore, I'm waiting. I apologize for my behavior in court today. The words came out flat, insincere, mechanical. Miss Whitmore, say it like you mean it. Patricia took a deep breath. You could see the internal struggle, the humiliation of having to apologize, the reality that she had no choice. Your Honor, I apologize for disrespecting you in this court. My behavior was inappropriate. Judge Caprio nodded. Apology accepted. Now let me be clear about what happens next. You'll pay $850 in fines and costs. You'll complete traffic school within 30 days. You'll provide proof of completion to this court. If you receive one more speeding ticket in the next year, I will personally review your case and consider suspending your license. Patricia nodded, finally understanding the gravity of her situation, finally realizing that her actions had consequences, that money couldn't buy her way out of everything. And Miss Whitmore, one more thing. The next time you drive through that neighborhood at 55 miles per hour, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that your time is not more valuable than other people's lives. Yes, Your Honor. You may leave. The clerk will process your payment. As Patricia walked toward the clerk's office, she moved differently, less arrogantly, more soberly, perhaps beginning to understand that respect isn't given for wealth. It's earned through character and behavior. 3 months later, Patricia Whitmore completed her traffic safety course. The instructor reported that she was attentive, respectful, and seemed genuinely interested in learning. No phone checking, no contemptuous attitude. Just a person trying to understand why the rules existed. 6 months later, no new speeding tickets appeared on her record. She drove the speed limit through that residential neighborhood, watched for children, acknowledged that convenience wasn't worth risking lives. A year later, Judge Caprio received a letter, handwritten, from Patricia Whitmore. Your Honor, I've thought about that day in your courtroom many times. I was arrogant, disrespectful, convinced that my success made me special, made the rules optional. You showed me how wrong I was, not by yelling or being cruel, but by holding me accountable, by refusing to let my money excuse my behavior, by treating me exactly like you'd treat anyone else who showed contempt for your court. I'm embarrassed by how I acted, how I spoke to you, how I treated the entire process. You were right about everything. My attitude on the road was the same as my attitude in your courtroom. Rules don't apply to me. I'm too important, too busy, too successful. That day cost me $850 and significant humiliation. But it taught me something worth far more. That character matters more than bank accounts. That respect must be earned. That laws exist to protect everyone, not just inconvenience the wealthy. I haven't had a speeding ticket since. I drive carefully through residential areas. I think about the children playing, the families walking, the lives that matter just as much as mine, regardless of how much money I make. Thank you for not letting me get away with my behavior. Thank you for holding me accountable. Thank you for reminding me that justice is blind to bank accounts and that character is what truly matters. Respectfully, Patricia Whitmore. Judge Caprio kept that letter, added it to a growing collection of reminders that justice works, that accountability matters, that even the most arrogant person can learn humility when consequences are real and fairly applied. You've just heard how one judge changed everything for one entitled businesswoman. But this story represents thousands of cases where people think money makes them special, where privilege becomes arrogance, where success becomes contempt for rules. Subscribe to spread this vision of justice. Like this video if you felt something. Comment your city below. Let's show the world we demand accountability regardless of wealth. Share this with someone who needs to see that money doesn't buy respect. Patricia Whitmore's story reminds us that privilege always meets its match in a fair courtroom, that money doesn't buy respect, that accountability applies to everyone, no matter how successful they think they are. Judge Frank Caprio demonstrated once again that real authority doesn't need to be loud or aggressive. It just needs to be firm, fair, and unwavering in the face of disrespect. Here's the question for all of us. When we achieve success, do we use it to demand special treatment? Or do we remember that wealth and status don't exempt us from basic decency and legal obligations? Patricia learned that courtrooms are the great equalizer, where your character matters infinitely more than your bank balance, where judges like Frank Caprio ensure justice is truly blind to financial status. Welcome to the movement for justice that treats everyone equally. Subscribe now. Patricia's story is just one of thousands showing that in a fair courtroom, money means nothing and character means everything.